Hey, this is Bernie here. I'm just going to talk to you about part 2 of the Good Samaritan Pro CCI story on the helicopter refute, part 2. And I'm sitting out in front of Origin Malt, as you can see. And I know you guys like to come in here, and back in the days before COVID here a month or so ago, and we all commune and sit down and visit, and it's good the way they have it organized. And this is actually where I met my good friend Jared Downey, I was talking to you about in the last post before this. And he just was sitting in there one day, and I come in for a quick micro craft. And he said, "Hey, how's it going?" And we just started talking. And now, like here it is a couple years later. Whenever you're out and about around town, you bump into Jared, or he bumps into me, or, that's the way it is. You meet people and you bump into them, people you know. And anyways, I know you guys like to come in. There's off sales here still. Kyle and MeLeah are running on minimal staff, but they're keeping some hours open, sure, for their favorite clientele. And I know you guys like to come in with your growlers when there's people around, and that's the show, right? But they're still here. They can fill you up, and you can do all that you normally do. But what I'm talking about today, these two guys in the first part last week of the story, they went up to heaven, and this is a spiritual principle in the body, mind, spirit leadership. Tim Hortons, hey, always fresh, always at the window, with minimal contact. And I think that's a subject now. That's a good positive message. And anyways, so these guys, this is personal life best, body, mind, spirit, leadership of self. So they're talking to God up there, and you'll have to go back and listen to part 1. I'm not going to educate you and repeat it, but it's called the Helicopter Refute Part 1. So God sends them back down to earth and gives them another chance to live their life out instead of staying in heaven, because they had a cause and a purpose down here. Well, one of them might be running a place like Origin Mall. Who knows? We all have a cause and a calling, and it's not in heaven. That's our ultimate. But down here, we sort of practice it out in our real life, our human first. And then when we get to heaven, that's the final. And that's, that's the result of what we do here, the position or fame we get up there in the new heaven, new earth, in our final calling and final outcome. So what you do down here is a burst of rewards up there, and that's good. So Kyle and these guys are running this, and this is an awesome operation. They run it like family, and I believe in that kind of stuff, family, community. It's all about what we do, and it's in the godly principles of ancient wisdom that I teach in our life principle quote. So you'll hear me say it lots. It's part and parcel foundation of who we are at Connections Consulting, and what we do and what we speak of, in order to teach you the life principles you can apply in your workplace or your faith quo, even if it's faith quotient you just live in your personal life. No matter what you're doing, maybe you're a stay-at-home mom, maybe you're a teenager who's a paper delivery boy, doesn't matter. We all got something in this life that makes good sense, hopefully, and if we seek God diligently, He promises He'll reward us, so we will have something good to do. And the problem becomes doing it and keeping the faith quotient inside of you in the overwhelming, discrediting society of no faith against COVID. Sometimes it can get pretty negative. You can't let yourself become susceptible to that. You got to stay in the cause of you, like I always speak of, you, and getting yourself, the credit to have a positive attitude and the inner faith and fortitude to go forth. So here we are. These guys come back down to the earth because God gave them a second chance to live their life in this story. And so they went about their life, and they had families, and they were doing work, and then they got into it good, and they wanted to give back, and so they were going to do volunteer work. But some of their ways I mentioned in video 1 were a bit backwards and quirky, and they hadn't learned. Their approach was right. They were living, in their belief, prayerful and faithful, wanting to live faith and work hard and diligent, but they had some wrong, twisted views in how they interpreted some of the ancient stuff and applied it in their day. So they started to do volunteer work, and they decided there was a church in town that needed some painting, and they'd go offer their services because they were painters too, by trade, in part of their overall dwelling and portfolio of things they do. So they go and they give the minister the chirp on, we'll do our labor for free, and you provide us with the paint, and or actually the minister didn't really have a total budget and the place looked run down, so they said, we'll donate the paint. But then halfway through the project they got cheap, and so they couldn't quite dwell in painting this place the way they promised and live up to their word. So they started to thin the paint and water it down. They were about half done, and they were watering the paint down to get the job done. And in this, all of a sudden, a move of God happened, and a big cloud come over, and a bolt of lightning shot out of the sky, and the audible voice of God spoke to them while they were painting the roof with this thinned down, cheating on the paint quotient of what they promised. And the voice said, repaint and thin no more. So in other words, they weren't supposed to thin the paint. You get that? That's a joke. Repaint and thin no more. Well, what is that about? Repainting. Okay, that is literally what they needed to do. But in our life, I suppose there's an analogy. We need to repaint our life sometime. It can't quite all go the credit quo we did it before when it didn't go so good. We can't just do it over and repeat the same mistakes. Hopefully we've learned from some of our discredit and we can do it right. And, that's God wants us to repaint our life, repaint it in a new direction. So repaint and get on a path more accredited to Him that's, I suppose, bringing Him honor and glory if we're doing it right, but we'll feel better. We'll feel more esteemed. So repaint and thin no one. Thin no one out of your life. If you've got good credit with others, keep your community, build it strong, keep friends, keep family base. Even if people miff you off at times, give them credit. They're human. Everybody falls into a mistake. Everybody has a bad day, a bad mood. Get along with others. Get over it. Move on. Forgive. And don't thin yourself down who you are. Thin no more. Keep a thick life around you, I suppose. And that's the way to go here. Bernie May, CCI Inc. And I'm right across from UFA here, the card lock. That's where Origin Malt is located in town when you're on the east-west highway number 1, just on the south side by McDonald's. You come down here, and here it is, the tap room and the UFA card lock. You can get gas when you're on your midnight rush from Moose Jaw, Regina to Calgary, because that's the only time you got to travel on your night flight. And you can get gas here at, I suppose, 3 in the morning on your UFA card lock. So there you go. And, guys, in these COVID times, just one thing about trust and building trust. Like, it's important to build trust with people all the time in life. And we're not trustworthy as human beings. We have flaw, we fail. Even the best of people can mess up sometimes and not mean it. It's not a trick, I suppose. They don't do it on purpose. They just fall short sometimes of what they're doing and what they're saying and promising. So, in life, we want to try to be as trustworthy as possible. It's more important now in these COVID times because people are sure they want their own 2-meter space. They want to dwell on this and get through and not die. And, be clean shaven. So if you wear a beard like me, trim it up on the neckline, every other day or every third day at the most, I suppose. So you look clean, you look professional. You're putting out a message of cleanliness as well in your look, not just in your hygiene habits. So you're creating trust. Getting your hair cut might be more difficult. I know I'm seeing the odd person looking a bit shaggy. Well, guys, young guys especially, the odd girl might want to do this. I'm not going to recommend it or promote it to a girl with the lovely long locks. But guys, you know, you can go to Walmart, buy a razor for 70 bucks, a hair clipper razor, and you can shave your head and it's clean and it lasts about 2 weeks, and I suppose go from there. But formal haircuts at home, you got to find that family member. You know, like in the same house, we're allowed to be within 2 meters of each other if we're part of the same family. Husband, wife are one, you know, children, dwelling, all that. So somebody's going to have to cut your hair to keep up the neat appearance. I don't see that barbers would have an exception when a cell phone store isn't even open. And if your phone breaks, how do you... And communication is... When you look at some of the most critical things, communication is key. And this is where we buff it up sometimes as a society. We wreck communication. We don't do it well. We don't keep it quick and simple. We don't keep it to the point. We get mix-ups in how we hear and understand. We say things verbally with diarrhea that don't make sense to others. And communication is key. And I've always been a connector. And I've always been a connector my whole life. Staying in touch with people, following through on my commitments, returning phone calls, people who call me when it's somebody I know. And if it isn't somebody I know, and nowadays is modern inflood of email and stuff, I still sometimes return messages, but not always. I have to manage my time too, just like anybody. But you know, it can really miff you when your own closest people in your life, friends and family, whoever, don't even bother to return phone calls. It's just accepted. Well, it isn't to me. And Connections Consulting is all about promoting a good ethic, and communication is key. They say marriages break down because of 3 things, and maybe this is more important at COVID times than ever. About sex, money, and communication. So I suppose if you got those 3 things in right order, sex, money, and communication, and you agree between the 2 of you to do it right for a way that works for you both, your marriage is going to last forever. I'm proud of these guys, Kyle and MeLeah, running this operation as a husband-wife family team, part of the overall, you know, ownership of it with the partners behind the scene in the Hilton branch of farms. This is farm-grown malt barley. Now, I won't talk about them anymore because I'm talking about me today, Connections Consulting. But I like to promote people in their businesses too, especially my friends, because if you can't promote your friends, who can you promote? I have opened doors for people in my life, and I've been thankful when the odd person has opened a door for me to get a job, to get some work, to get a new connection, get in a new friendship circle when I moved into an area, whatever. Get on a sports team when I didn't know anybody except one guy, all that kind of stuff. Connections are important, and that's where we close with this. Know who you are in these times, know you, and the more better information you can get to know you and what you believe, then you know. And that's important. That's the new, is know.